So just to start off, I'm Ethan. I'm Frank's, as you know, grandson. And something about me is I'm not a very usual kid. And I love hanging out at the cottage. It's my favorite thing to do. So I'm going to be talking about the origin of the Pike legend. And I also carved a panel, as you can see here. So this was a school project last year. Right now I'm in grade 7, and this was, as you can see, I did it in grade 6 about a year ago in December. And the project was you had to dream of a native legend, and then you had to write about that legend. So like you have to write a story. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you have to illustrate what that story is, like a scene from the story. And this is one of the last parts, and you'll see when I read this. And I also modified this story, because last year I wasn't as good of a student, so I kind of modified it with my grammar. And I also got permission to submit a carving instead of drawing. So this is How the Pike Came to Be by Ethan Harris. And one other thing is I just recently got a spacer, so I can't really pronounce my E's. So, here we go. A long time ago, there were 3 siblings, Achak, Kane, and Sokanen. They are yet to find that they shared a power, the power to create a new being. The siblings lived alone, just shy of what's known now as Thunder Bay. They all had food. They all had the food they needed, and got most of it from a nearby lake called Pike. The lake had some very stomach-satisfying fish in it, including pickerel. But the pickerel were eating all the other fish, and the population of the pickerel was growing. There was nothing in the lake that ate pickerel. The siblings were worried. They thought that this lake shared a spirit with all organisms living within it. And if even one species was wiped out, the spirit would rupture and kill every minnow, frog, and fish in the lake. They had to act fast, so they called upon their gods. They did every kind of summoning they could think of, and yet no sign of hope. As the sad, hopeless siblings walked away, an ear-shattering clash of thunder broke out, and a few long seconds later, a brilliant flash of neon yellow hit the ground. Before their eyes, the lightning god stood before them and said, "You, the 3 siblings, what have you called me for?" Kame replied, "Lord, our lake is infested with pickerel, and if even one species dies, if even one species other than pickerel dies off, the grand lake spirit will rupture and kill our food." The lightning god stood there for a few seconds with a rather peculiar expression, and then, to the siblings' surprise, he let out a brief chuckle, and then said, "You called upon me for a simple food problem? Don't you know what your names mean?" For a brief moment, the timid siblings looked up at him. Then, Sokanen, the shy but stealthy sister, let out one murmur. "Sokanen means rain." "Kame means thunder," said Kame in his toughest, most manly voice. "Achak means spirit." Achak replied with his most humble but strong voice. The god said very clearly, "Then, use the powers for which you are named." "I'm sorry, but are you out of your mind?" said Sokanen. The god put on a very peculiar face, almost like he wanted to kill her, although he found the comment funny. He gave each sibling a different look, and, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. After that, the siblings somehow started to change one by one and turned into their name. Achak looked like a silhouette of a human, but in the form of fog. Kimi somehow turned larger and stronger, although almost what you'd think of a thundercloud. Lastly, Sokanen materialized into the form of rain. You can imagine how you'd feel if this would happen to you, and that's why for the past 2 days they ran around screaming. Finally, the siblings got down to business. Their plan was to make a spirit fish, a true predator, one fish that would eat people but not be eaten itself. All siblings agreed to maintain the spirit inside of every one of these new fish. They did this to keep a disaster from happening, to make sure that the lake spirit would never corrupt. They named this new fish Pike, after the name of the lake. A Chak-Chak went underwater, and his spirit would give the pike life. Chi-Ming floated into the sky, and his fighting ability would give the pike its killing factor. So Cannon reigned on the lake. Her agility and wisdom would give the pike its character. But the siblings needed one more thing: lightning. Within 3 brief seconds, a powerful lightning bolt jolted out of the cloud and struck a deadhead log in the lake. The energy of the lightning god would give Pike its toughness and energy. In fact, this bolt was so powerful, you can still see the warm glow in the eyes of every one of the Pike's descendants. So that was my very painful story that I wrote. And this is my panel. If you can see that there still is the nice warm glow in the eye, it's the yellow from the thunder, and here's the lightning bolt jutting down into the deadhead log, turning this into a pike. So this was drawn directly onto the wood, and that's a kind of rare form. Like my grandfather, he did it the original style, and just drew a half piece. I just drew it right onto the wood. And this drawing doesn't, or this carving doesn't really look like a true Haida form. It's really realistic. Like you can see the gills, you can see the kind of yellowish spots on the body. Except it has some features that kind of symbolize the character of the pike, and that's kind of what a Haida style is. The outside appearance looks almost like the character of the being. So there was lots of painting done at the start, and then there was some carving, and then some more painting, and then some more carving, and then the final painting, which was kind of the outside.
Ethan, show us.
Oh, here you go. That's what it looks like. And then the overall coat of varnish was put over top, and I kind of wanted to have this look, even though my grandfather didn't. He kind of wanted it to look matte, but I'm a rebel, so.
What's on the back?
What do you mean? Oh, on the back, it's a picture to prove to my teacher that I did this by myself, because he actually didn't believe me. So, yeah. So, the picture on the screen right there is me with my really cheesy smile carving scales onto a fish. And these also aren't really scales. They're kind of the yellow splotches. If you've ever caught a pike, probably most of you have. You'll see these nice, really beautiful yellow splotches on the pike's body.
What kind of a mark did you get for your project?
I got an A+. So this was also done for the turtle, except my grandfather didn't paint the background, which I think doesn't look very good. My grandfather actually did most of the scooping. He did this part, and I was wimpy, and I only did this and that. Except something really nice that I like about this is it kind of looks like the water's glowing around the pike. And it was actually a screw-up that caused that. So it started out with kind of turquoise water. And then we thought that it didn't look very good, so we just applied this, and then I was like, oh, it doesn't look bad. And then my grandfather was like, no, it really doesn't. I was like, maybe we should keep it that way. So we did, and it looks nice. most of the carving has been done. If you can see, it took me forever to do that part. And then that's the close-up of the head. If you can see this very ferocious looking teeth right there. And try getting them down. You know, some probably see that. So yeah. And then there's the gills. Before that, I really didn't know a lot about fish, so I put 4 gills, but it's actually like 3 or something like that. And then there isn't a close-up of the tail, except on the outside of the pike. It kind of looks like there's blood. And in my story, I didn't add that in, but I say that the toughness from the thunder god actually put blood in there. And it means that it's fierce and like snakes, how they always have red if they're dangerous, or spiders. This is a feature on the pike. And that's the completed finish. It actually looks better in real life, I think.
Did you say that on the back of the document?
No, not so much. And thank you, and that is my part of the project.